So when I was uh, just learning to drive, before I got my license, my stepdad said, "Hey, there's a couple things you need to learn how to do. Okay, before I hand over the keys, you have to learn your driver's license number." That was nice of him. You have to learn how to change a tire, which I'm thankful for, and you have to learn how to dance. And I used to laugh because I'm like, I'm not learning how to dance. Until it was literally the semester before I got my license, we had a dancing course in PE. And so I felt like I could do it all. And now that I finished all three, I can get my license, okay? Let me tell you about this dancing course. I'm pretty sure I like twisted my ankle about every week for this 4-month thing. Dancing's not my thing. There's several things that I have found out over my, long 25 years of life that aren't my thing. Like, I think I'm a woodsman. I think I am. Like I really do, and I'm good at it. Like, that's what I think. There was one time I was out in the garage here, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna build a shelf, and I'm gonna be manly. I'm gonna build a shelf so I don't have to go to IKEA or Target to some of you, and buy these lovely shelves, even though they're very nice and they're whatever. And so I'm out there, and I'm working for like 3 hours. I just tell Todd, I'm just going to be out there for a couple minutes. It's not that hard. And then I come back in, and I'm like, hey, do we have anything for a bonfire? And she's like, why? And I was like, because there's just so much wood. I didn't know what to do with it, so we're just burning it all. Because I failed, like, I'm not kidding you. I tried like 7 different ways. Like, I watched more YouTube videos than I actually spent making, like, the shelf. And that's just failure for myself, and I like to laugh at myself because same way with outdoorsmen. Like, I think I'm outdoorsy. In my mind, I am like this nature man. Like, they should put me on a TV show. Like, that's how outdoorsy I am, and just have cameras follow me around, and I'd love it. I wouldn't know what to do because I'm a pretty boring guy, but I would go out in the woods, and I'm like, yeah. That's why this Christmas I asked for all like hiking and like camping stuff. I went one time past like 6 years. Granted, it was Colorado and it was really nice in the mountains and I got sweet pictures. But I think I'm outdoorsy. But I fail at it a lot because I really just honestly don't know what I'm doing. But we're going to talk a little bit about failure. We're going to talk about this dragon who failed 3 times. As a Christmas Eve service, we're still going to talk about the birth of Jesus and the great triumph that is in there. But we're going to talk about this dragon that failed literally 3 times. And so I'm gonna pray, and then we're going to open up to Revelation 12. Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for this time that we get to come and simply sit together as a family. Talk about your son, Jesus, and what his birth meant to us. It's in your son's name we pray. Amen. So in Revelation 12, John wrote this book, and it's a lot of visions. It's a lot of ideas going through his mind, and he just doesn't necessarily know what to do with it all. So he becomes an outdoorsman, and he just starts writing everything down outside. Well, his outside was like a jail cell. At this time, they were being persecuted. His people, they were always being tossed in and out of prison, in and out of jail. And so he had all these visions and everything running through his mind. And so he said, you know what? I'm just going to start writing everything down. So leading up to 12, we hear about like the angels and the scrolls, the 7 letters to churches that the churches, they needed to hear. And we hear about the witnesses, the trumpets. And it leads all the way up to this woman and the dragon. And this oh holy night, our thing. Oh holy night. What a night it was. There was a birth. Now this is parallel to like Luke 2 and the birth of Jesus that we've been talking about over this past month. But it's just going to be a different perspective, a little bit more heavenly on how you're going to process it. Because we're not actually going to be looking at a stable. I thought about getting them one, like a little manger thing to come up, and I thought it'd be real cute. I thought about making it, decided against that. There's better people, and I'm pretty sure Walmart has them. And so I would have just bought it. And we're going to learn about this baby Jesus as I'm going to reference just once, and that was it, how he left his glory to enter our story. He left his glory to enter our story. He left up, came down for us to be a part of our story. And I'm going to read pretty quickly from Revelation 12. And this first thing that I really want you to grab is that the Son defeats the dragon. We all like those big stories, those big battles. Well, this one is a little different. It's pretty calm. It starts off, but we're going to see that the Son defeats the dragon. In Revelation 12, if you want to follow along, I'll be reading 1 through 6. And it says this: A great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head. That's pretty crazy. And then it says, she was pregnant and cried out in pain as she was about to give birth. Then another sign appears. Another sign appears in heaven, an enormous red dragon. So this red dragon appears when we have this lady over here who's pregnant and in pain, about ready to give birth. One sign, and then over here, this red dragon appears with 7 heads to show how clever he is, and 10 horns to show how strong he is, and 7 crowns on its head to show how smart he is, and how much power and how much ruling he has over the land. So this appears. Its tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to the earth. The dragon stood in front of the woman who was about to give birth, so that it might devour her child the moment he was born. She gave birth to a son, a male child, who will rule all the nations with an iron scepter. And her child was snatched up to God to his throne. A woman fled into the wilderness to a place prepared for her by God, where she might be taken care of for 1,260 days. As I'm reading this, you might be wondering, what is all this story? There's vision. John gets this vision of this lady who is pregnant and crying out in birth pain, which I'm thankful for. I don't have to necessarily experience. And then we get this picture of this dragon with these heads, with the thorns, with the crowns. And you're sitting there thinking, this isn't very Christmassy, maybe. And as the story goes, what I just read in the past couple verses, she gave birth. And it was going to be a son. It's going to be named the King of Kings, Lord of Lords. Okay? And so the child is born, but God says, I think it's time that I take my son back to me. So you got to think, it's up in your mind. God takes up the son because the dragon was ready. The dragon was there waiting to devour and to kill. The same way today, Satan is still there, and the dragon is Satan. It's the devil, as we're going to learn and talk more about. But the son is there, giving birth. God takes him and says, hey, not today, Satan. Not today, dragon. Yeah, you have a lot of heads. Yeah, you might be smart. You might be clever. You might have a lot of power in the land. But I'm still God. I'm still in control here. And that is my son who I love. So, takes him up. He gets angry. Of course he gets angry. They end up saying that a third of the stars get swept down. A lot of people a lot smarter than me debate if that's about the big battle in heaven, one of the big battles. And he says the stars come down. And the woman, Mary, she flees because God had somewhere prepared for her. You ever been in situations where you necessarily don't know the outcome, but when you get into it, it ends up working out? And this is what it is. Mary didn't necessarily understand why her son was taken away in this picture, in this imagery, but yet God had a place for her prepared for 1,260 days. And that's comforting, because we see right off the bat in this story, in this Christmas story, that the son is still alive. And here's the main thing for tonight. There is power in the birth. In the victory of Jesus, there's power. In the birth of Jesus, there's power, because since that happened, the rest falls into place with the dragon. And so the son defeats the dragon. But yet, the dragon decides that he's not done. The devil, Satan, decides he is not done yet in the story, so he decides to pick another fight this day. And as we're getting ready to read, we also learn that not only the son defeats the dragon, but Michael defeats the dragon. So in the next couple verses, in 7 through 12, we read that Michael defeats the dragon. And it says this: Then war broke out in heaven, because the dragon's mad, Satan's mad, the devil's mad, because he was there. He thought he was clever. Yeah, he is clever, but he said, I was there, I was ready to pounce, but yet God outdid me again. It happens over and over. Then the war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. But he was not strong enough, and they lost their place in heaven. The great dragon was hurled down, the ancient serpent called the devil, or Satan, who leads the whole world astray. He was hurled to the earth, and his angels with him. Then I heard a loud voice in heaven say, says John, now have come the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God, and the authority of his Messiah. For the accuser of our brothers and sisters, who accuses them before our God day and night? Day and night he's going to accuse. He has been hurled down. This dragon, this mighty, powerful dragon, he's already lost to the Son, and now he's getting ready to lose to Michael. He's hurled down. They triumphed over him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. That they did not love their lives so much as to shrink from death. Therefore rejoice, you heavens, and you who dwell in them. But woe to the earth and the sea, because the devil has gone down to you. He is filled with fury, because he knows that his time is short. So he lost the fight right at the birth of the Son. He lost it. Son defeats the dragon. And so he decides that, you know what, I'm going to take down the stars. I'm going to take them down, because if I can't have the Son, which I came here for, I'm going to make sure my voice is heard. I'm going to make sure that my power is shown. And so I'm going to take on Michael, one of the archangels, one of the strongest people alive. I'm going to take him down. And so he goes, and we see what happens. A third of the angels are thrown down with him. And he sees that this isn't going to be good enough for him. And so he's trying to figure out, okay, I got thrown down to this earth because I wanted Jesus. I was there ready for him, and I lost it. And I'm angry. And I'm filled with fury. So I'm going to take it to the next place. And he gets thrown down from heaven because he tries picking a fight with the big G God, the big one. And he loses it, and he's sitting down, and he doesn't know what to do because he got thrown into water. And what does this have to do with Christmas? He gets thrown down, and the story keeps going. He gets more and more mad, but he says that the blood of the Lamb and the word of the testimony, that is the power. And that all comes back to the birth of Jesus. If this might be your first time in church, tonight we're just talking about the birth. Through this crazy story in Revelation that John gets this imagery in his head, these visions, but yet we find there's hope in the story of a dragon. We find there's hope that God still cares for us today, right where we're at. Even if you fail at making shelves. I don't know if any of you are terrible woodsmen. Probably not. I don't know if any of you are really good on a mountain bike. I thought I was, until I broke like 3 ankles later. But we have these failures. And we see that through this, God's power is still being shown. Through the birth, there is power in the birth. There is victory in the birth. But yet, the dragon still isn't happy. Excuse me. There's still power. He's still being frustrated. But yet, we know that the story isn't done. Yes, he got hurled down to earth. He already lost to the Son. He lost to the angels. And now there's still a battle in front of us that we all face daily. And it says this in the last couple verses. When the dragon saw that he had been hurled to the earth, he pursued the woman who had given birth to the male child. The woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle, so that she might fly to the place prepared for her in the wilderness, where she would be taken care of for a time, times and a half of time, and out of the serpent's reach. Then from his mouth, Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Sorry, Lydia. Really good thought in my head. It's like woodworking. Don't do it. Then from the mouth the serpent spewed water like a river to overtake the woman and sweep her away with the torrent. But the earth helped the woman by opening its mouth and swallowing the river that the dragon had spewed out of his mouth. Can you just imagine? This dragon's mad. He's ticked. And he's wanting revenge. He's already lost 2 battles in the same day. I like to think of it as the same day. He's already lost twice in one day. That's unfortunate for him. So he's like, I'm going to go back and find that woman, and I'm going to get her. But she is given 2 wings. And she's getting out of there. So I'm going to, I'm a big dragon with a lot of heads. And I don't really understand it. A lot of saliva, I think. I'm not really sure. And he spews out water. But yet the earth, God's creation, says, not today, Satan. Not today, devil. Not today, dragon. And the earth opens up. Now, it's kind of like crazy. If you have a crazy imagination, you could do all kinds of things with this. Like, and the earth just opens up and the water goes down and it's gone, but yet God prevails. Because there is still power in the birth. There's still victory in the birth. And it says, but the earth helped the woman by opening its mouth and swallowing the river that the dragon had spewed out of his mouth. Then the dragon was enraged at the woman and went off to wage war against the rest of her offspring, those who keep God's commands and hold fast their testimony about Jesus. And this is where it leads to us today. Jesus was born 2,000 and some years ago. And the first victory was there. And then Satan still got mad. The dragon still got mad. This crazy imagery. And he loses again. But yet we are in a battle every day. Because there's so much power in the birth. Yeah, we could get a little scene up here. Have some more students come around and pretend to be Mary and Joseph. It's a little awkward at times. We can do all that, and that is great. But there's still power in the birth. The reason we're here is because that birth was foretold several thousand years, and then it happened. And then many things were foretold, and then they happened. And now we just see a different swing on the Luke 2 version of opening up and seeing that God is still in control today. Even if you fail, even if you fall short, God is still in control. Even when life seems unfair and we don't know what's going on or where your next move is, God is still in control because there's power in the birth. Satan loses 3 times. And he's still going to continue to lose. The dragon will still lose, but we all have our dragons. You can go that way. We all have our dragons that we face. We all have our little thorns in our flesh that get us day in and day out. But it said there at the end, it said, by the power of the testimony of Jesus, you will prevail. Knowing that Jesus is on your side, knowing that God is on your side, should give us hope. And this is what this season's about. A hope about a future because the baby was born. It gives us hope that we can have that eternity with Jesus. This man gave up so much. He gave up his glory to come down and eventually enter our story, into our hearts. We're going to be entering this time of communion. And we have a couple stations set up across the room where we're going to get the chance to just go on a little journey, a little talk, a little communion about what the story of the birth of Jesus means to you. We have a couple stations, but here's the thing, as I wrap up and close up, there's so much power than just in a little stable, in a little inn, because everything was too full. There's so much power in this little baby being born and taken up, because God's saying, I have something for you, and it's a lot greater. There's so much power in our lives when God says, I have something for you. There's so much power in knowing that by the blood of the Lamb and the word of his testimony, that we don't have to fear this dragon with the 7 heads, the 10 horns, and the 7 crowns. We don't have to fear this dragon because God has already destroyed him. God has already hurled him down. God has already defeated him twice. And we get the chance every day to defeat some dragon. Because God says, I have given you this letter, this love letter, through a little boy in the stable. What does that mean for us? I'm going to pray, and then after I pray, they're going to be playing some music. Whenever you are ready and you feel led, we will have our tables, and we'll have a couple guys standing next to the table, just willing to help out in any way. But we have the communion to represent the body of Jesus, of this little baby that eventually was led 30-some years later to the cross to allow us the opportunity to come today. And we have the juice to represent the pain and the blood and the sacrifice that he made for us. But I don't want you to leave tonight just saying this crazy dragon story. There's a lot of Satan being defeated. And throughout this entire book, this love letter right here, there's a lot of that. And there's a lot of promises that bring a hope to our future. Because it is powerful. Because there's power in the birth. Lord, I thank you for this day. Thank you for this time that we get to come and simply look at this story in Revelation about the birth of Jesus. It's not the traditional, but yet, God, the story is still there. The meaning is still there, that you gave up your son to come and to die for us, but yet he lived a life. He walked human. And eventually led to the cross for us. Because the great love that you have for us, you've shown through your Son. And when we accept him into our hearts, that empowers us to love others. And that empowers us to love others the way you love others. And God, as we enter this time of communion, we just say thank you for the gifts that you've given us in this time. Thank you for your Son. And we thank you for the opportunity that we have gotten in our lives to surrender ourselves to him as we remember him at this time. It's in your Son's name we pray.